Hi everyone, and welcome back. This is the second video in my 12 Steps ACA video series. And following on the first video, I'm going to go through what a real-world ACA meeting looks like and how it goes. Generally, the meetings last for about an hour, but it will go much quicker on this demonstration because I'm the only one here and there's not people sharing, etc. So generally, we start with the welcome and the people arrive, and at the moment we are doing online meetings, obviously because of COVID, so we generally run meetings on Zoom. There is information about meetings available, and generally all the times and the Zoom links, etc., will be available for those meetings. So starting in ACA, which is stands for Adult Children of Alcoholics meeting, and this specific one that I'm going to go through is a starting the steps meeting, which we run every Sunday morning from 10:30 a.m. and this specific meeting is also an hour long. So there are different kinds of meetings. There are different kinds of meetings. So this one's a step work meeting. You get literature meetings where we go through the literature around the ACA fellowship, and you get speaker meetings. So a speaker meeting generally is someone who will come and share their experience, strength and hope, and generally it takes the form of what were things like, what happened, and how are things like now. So the point of those sharing meetings is for people who have just started or are feeling hopeless and overrun by their addictive behavior or the unmanageability. They can listen to someone speaking who's basically been where they are now in a point of desperation, and they've managed to, through working this program and the 12 steps and everything that goes with it, they've managed to get a point where they're happy and they've taken back control of their lives, and their lives have become manageable again. So all right, so we generally start with a welcome, and this group is here to help newcomers get started with the steps and as a place to share your step work journey. Travelers work the steps at their own pace, and we come together to share and to listen to each other's experience wherever we may be on our journey. So this word travelers, I'd just like to explain it. Travelers is the term that we use for anyone who's on their journey of working this program, working the 12 steps. Then what we do next in the meetings, and this is a general thing that we start meetings with, is reading the preambles. So the preambles are generic predefined documents that are there in order to explain to anyone who is new to the fellowship how it works, and give them an idea of what they need to do and what they can expect. And for example, like the laundry list here, the problem and what is an adult child explains about, like, well, as it says, what is an adult child, and the laundry list are the character traits that people with ACA issues are dealing with, and the problem is really the foundation of why are you here? What is this thing that you've reached to a point of desperation with? What is the problem that we're here to solve? And then following that is the solution. So what is the solution to this problem? The promises is quite similar to the solution. So the promises are basically what can you expect if you work a proper program. And then the 12 steps basically runs through a list of what the 12 steps are. So I'm going to go through each of those documents now, and I'm just going to read them myself. So the first one is, what is an adult child? So here's the excerpt. This comes out of the ACA 12-step workbook. This is one of the books which are part of the standard literature for adult children of alcoholics. So what is an adult child? The concept of adult child came from the Alateens who began the Hope for Adult Children of Alcoholics meeting. The original members of our fellowship, who were over 18 years old, were adults, but as children they grew up in alcoholic homes. Adult child also means that when confronted, we regress to a stage in our childhood. This comes from the ACA History and Interview with Tony A in 1992. So here's a note. This is also taken from the ACA book. The editor's note: more than a decade has passed since one of our primary founders, Tony A., that's him, was interviewed on the topic of the fellowship that he helped found with Alateen members in late 1977 and 1978. For this book, we will use Tony's words as the foundation to define the adult child personality. An adult child is someone who responds to adult situations with self-doubt, self-blame, or a sense of being wrong or inferior, all learned from stages of childhood. Without help, we unknowingly operate with ineffective thoughts and judgments learned in childhood. The regression can be subtle, but it is there, sabotaging our decisions and relationships. Okay. Then the next preamble that we read is the laundry list. And then, by the way, generally anyone in a meeting who is part of the fellowship, when they come up to read or to share, they generally introduce themselves by their first name only, and then as an adult child. So I would introduce myself. Hi, my name is Henry and I'm an adult child. So reading the next is the laundry list. These are characteristics we seem to have in common due to being brought up in an alcoholic household. 1. We became isolated and afraid of people and authority figures. 2. We became approval seekers and lost our identity in the process. 3. We are frightened by angry people and any personal criticism. 4. We either become alcoholics, marry them, or both, or find another compulsive personality, such as a workaholic, to fulfill our sick abandonment needs. 5. We live life from the viewpoint of victims and are attracted by that weakness in our love and friendship relationships. 6. We have an overdeveloped sense of responsibility, and it is easier for us to be concerned with others rather than ourselves. This enables us not to look too closely at our own faults, etc. 7. We get guilt feelings when we stand up for ourselves instead of giving in to others. 8. We became addicted to excitement. 9. We confuse love and pity and tend to love people we can pity and rescue. 10. We have stuffed our feelings from our traumatic childhoods and have lost the ability to feel or express our feelings because it hurts so much. In denial. 11. We judge ourselves harshly and have a very low sense of self-esteem. 12. We are dependent personalities who are terrified of abandonment and will do anything to hold on to a relationship in order not to experience painful abandonment feelings which we receive from living with sick people who were never there emotionally for us. 13. Alcoholism is a family disease, and we became para-alcoholics and took on the characteristics of that disease even though we did not pick up the drink. 14. Para-alcoholics are reactors rather than actors. So one of the main things about reading the laundry list, for example, and the problem are there so that we can find something to relate to. Immediately when I read the laundry list, I can definitely identify these traits in myself. And already that's like, I mean, the first time I read this, the first time I went to an ACA meeting, I got goosebumps. It was actually such a relief, so inspiring. Often when I'm in the pit of desperation with these character defects, I feel very alone, but coming into a place where there are others like me who suffer from similar issues and have found a solution is really like just a massive relief, which I was very grateful for. Then the next preamble is the problem. Many of us found that we had several characteristics in common as a result of being brought up in an alcoholic or dysfunctional household. We had come to feel isolated and uneasy with other people, especially authority figures. To protect ourselves, we became people pleasers, even though we lost our own identities in the process. All the same, we would mistake any personal criticism as a threat. We either became alcoholics or practiced other addictive behavior ourselves, or married them, or both. Failing that, we found other compulsive personalities, such as a workaholic, to fulfill our sick need for abandonment. We lived life from the standpoint of victims. Having an overdeveloped sense of responsibility, we preferred to be concerned with others rather than ourselves. We got guilt feelings when we stood up for ourselves rather than giving in to others. Thus, we became reactors rather than actors, letting others take the initiative. We were dependent personalities, terrified of abandonment, willing to do almost anything to hold on to a relationship in order not to be abandoned emotionally. Yet, we kept choosing insecure relationships because they matched our childhood relationship with alcoholic or dysfunctional parents. These symptoms of the family disease of alcoholism or other dysfunction made us co-victims, those who take on the characteristics of the disease without necessarily ever taking a drink. We learned to keep our feelings down as children and kept them buried as adults. As a result of this conditioning, we confused love with pity, tending to love those we could rescue. Even more self-defeating, we became addicted to excitement in all our affairs, preferring constant upset to workable relationships. This is a description, not an indictment. Next, we read the solution. The solution is to become your own loving parent. As ACA becomes a safe place for you, you will find freedom to express all the hurts and fears you have kept inside and to free yourself from the shame and blame that are carryovers from the past. You will become an adult who is imprisoned no longer by childhood reactions. You will recover the child within you, learning to accept and love yourself. The healing begins when we risk moving out of isolation. Feelings and buried memories will return. By gradually releasing the burden of unexpressed grief, we slowly move out of the past. We learn to reparent ourselves with gentleness, humor, love, and respect. This process allows us to see our biological parents as the instruments of our existence. Our actual parent is a higher power, whom some of us choose to call God. Although we had alcoholic or dysfunctional parents, our higher power gave us the 12 steps of recovery. This is the action and the work that heals us. We use the steps, we use the meetings, we use the telephone. We share our experience, strength, and hope with each other. We learn to restructure our sick thinking one day at a time. When we release our parents from responsibility for our actions today, we become free to make helpful decisions as actors, not reactors. We progress from hurting to healing to helping. We awaken to a sense of wholeness we never knew was possible. By attending these meetings on a regular basis, you will come to see parental alcoholism or family dysfunction for what it is, a disease that infected you as a child and continues to affect you as an adult. You will learn to keep the focus on yourself in the here and now. You will take responsibility for your own life and supply your own parenting. You will not do this alone. Look around you, and you will see others who know how you feel. We will love and encourage you no matter what. We ask you to accept us just as we accept you. This is a spiritual program based on action coming from love. We are sure that as the love grows inside you, you will see beautiful changes in all your relationships, especially with God, yourself, and your parents. Yeah, that's a really amazing text. Just so enlightening. The one thing I just wanted to mention, already you've seen that the word God has appeared quite a few times. I just want to make the point that this is not a religious program at all. Alcoholics Anonymous, any of the 12-step programs are not religious. They are not Christian, they're not Muslim, they're not Jewish. The whole point is to find your own concept of what your higher power is and what you define as God. It doesn't matter. Whatever works for you, whatever you can rely on and have faith in. The next preamble is the ACA promises. 1. we will discover our real identities by loving and accepting ourselves. 2, our self-esteem will increase as we give ourselves approval on a daily basis. 3, fear of authority figures and the need to people please will leave us. 4, our ability to share intimacy will grow inside us. 5, as we face our abandonment issues, we will be attracted by strengths and become more tolerant of weaknesses. 6, we will enjoy feeling stable, peaceful, and financially secure. 7, we will learn how to play and have fun in our lives. 8, we will choose to love people who can love and be responsible for themselves. 9, healthy boundaries and limits will become easier for us to set. 10, fears of failure and success will leave us as we intuitively make healthier choices. 11, with the help of our ACA support group, we will slowly release our dysfunctional behaviors. 12, gradually with our higher powers' help, we will learn to expect the best and to get it. So this is also really exciting, I guess, especially and specifically if you're coming from a standpoint of someone who does suffer with these issues. A lot of it is around relationships with other people and relationships with ourselves specifically as well. So this is a set of promises based on working the 12-step program to the best of your ability. It also doesn't mean that you need to do it perfectly. The idea is just to get started with the program and work through it, and before long you will be reaping the rewards. Then the last preamble is the actual 12 steps. So let's go ahead and read those. So these are the 12 steps of ACA, which is Adult Children of Alcoholics. 1, we admitted we were powerless over the effects of alcoholism or other family dysfunction, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand God. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory and, when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understand God, praying only for knowledge of God's will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we try to carry this principle to others who still suffer and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So that's the 12 steps, and these 12 steps are adapted from the original Alcoholics Anonymous program, which incidentally there's the AA 12 steps, and the AA program is the foundation of many 12 steps fellowships that have come from this. So then what we do next is, after reading the preambles, then we go into the sharing portion. So we go around the room giving each person a chance to share if they want to, either on the steps they work that week or whatever is going on for them. What's very important is that to notice this is not a place to make you feel uncomfortable. You share if you feel like sharing. No one's going to force you to share. You can go through the whole meeting and not say anything at all if you want to. If you just want to listen, especially in the beginning, that sometimes helps. For someone who's feeling a bit nervous about joining the fellowship or getting started or doesn't really know their place yet. So generally we would go around the room sharing. I can demo that. So for me, hi, I'm Henry and I'm an adult child, and I have been working the 12 steps this year. I finished the 12 steps actually, and I'm going through it again, starting again at step 1. and it's been really profound for me. So compared to working the AA 12 steps, and 10 years ago in 2010, that's when I first joined any 12-step fellowship, which was Alcoholics Anonymous. My problem wasn't really to do with alcohol. It was more around drug abuse. So even though my preference was drugs, Alcoholics Anonymous worked for me, because at the end of the day, it's a spiritual program with a spiritual solution. It's not about your specific drug of choice. So yeah, I mean, that's AA program definitely helped me to get into stay clean and to stay sober, and to be happy as well. The major difference that I found working ACA compared to Alcoholics Anonymous is that drugs and alcohol, I realized, it wasn't my problem. Drugs and alcohol was my solution for the restlessness and the discomfort and how I felt inside. So the profound thing for me working with ACA is it actually deals with the inside, that thing that I was medicating with drugs and alcohol. And it's been incredibly powerful. And the reason I'm starting with the 12 steps again from 1 is because I just want to stay in that intensity and keep that momentum going, that I've, all the rewards that I've benefited, all the peace and the revelation and the insight that I've gotten, and I'm making healthier choices around myself and my relationships. And yeah, so that's kind of what's going on for me. I got divorced this year as well, which was the trigger for starting and picking up the ACA program as well, because a lot of my character defects and my issues were a big problem in my marriage, and it was part of part of the reason that things fell apart. So yeah, thank you for letting me share. Okay, cool. So generally, in a meeting we can have anything from 5 to 10 to 30 people attending a meeting, and then everyone gets a chance to share about 2 or 3 minutes about what's going on for them generally. Once the sharing has finished, then we go on to the final round of the meeting, which basically and specifically is important for this meeting, because this meeting that we run every Sunday morning is a place for people to come who want to get started with working the program, but they don't really know where to go. So once we've done all of that that I've gone through now, then we do the sponsorship and literature information. So in terms of sponsorship, if there's anyone available to sponsor or be a Stepwork support contact, please leave your details in the chat. A couple of points around sponsorship. Sponsorship is not a financial sponsor. The whole point of a sponsor is someone who has already worked the 12 steps and serves as a guide to those who are just starting in the program. So it's basically a step work guide by someone who is experienced in the steps to help newcomers to get on their journey. And yeah, so that's what a sponsorship is. So in the group that we run, generally you will have a mix of people who are sometimes have been working the program for 10 to 20 years, and others who have just started, others who have maybe been around for a year or so. So it really, the whole concept is around those who are more experienced and have a lot of time behind them are able to help those who are not as far down the road. And then literature forms a very important part of working the program. The one book that you definitely need to get started is the 12-Step Yellow workbook. So the 12-Step Yellow workbook basically takes you through working the 12 steps. And then there's the laundry list workbook. So this laundry list workbook is around working around the character traits that's around ACA. And the big red book is just a wealth of information about what it means to be an adult child of an alcoholic family or growing up in a dysfunctional family. And then if anyone who wants, even you viewing, who would like more information about adult children of alcoholics, you can visit the ACA World Service website, which is at adultchildren.org. And here it is. So you would generally start on the homepage. So this website is everything you need in terms of information about understanding what it is to be an adult child with alcoholics, and what are the general traits, where to go next, this is all information for the newcomer. This is information about how to find a meeting. There are meetings all over the world. I live in South Africa, in Johannesburg, and generally there's a ton of meetings that are online via Zoom. So you can even attend meetings which are based in the States or in Europe, anywhere or wherever. Or one of my main meetings is actually in Cape Town, but we are able to meet, obviously, online. So that's all of that information, and more information on literature. That's for you there to go and browse through. So what we do then is we then close with the Serenity Prayer. And let me just bring that one up now. And what we do then is we all just say this together aloud. And really, this is the foundation every day. And this is a prayer that we say every day to help us just to deal with our day-to-day lives. And I think this is something that's relevant to not only ACA members, but in people in general, Yeah, so as it goes is, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've really benefited, and if there's anyone who could possibly benefit from this video series, please feel free to share with them. And you can certainly get in touch with me. I'm very happy to help and answer questions. I guess you could just leave requests in the chat underneath the video, which will be on YouTube. So have an amazing rest of your day or night or morning or whatever. I'll see you again soon in the next video. Cheers.